Hey gang, I'm Russell, the Weekend Adventurer. Today we're going to learn how to build a really sweet camping stove out of a Budweiser aluminum bottle. It's not just any old aluminum bottle, it's a hefty one. They allow you to bring them into stadiums because they're not glass, but it's a very heavy aluminum, and you'll see the advantages of that as we build our stove. Let's get going. There's two ways to cut this aluminum bottle. The first one is a hacksaw. Now, it's hard, it takes forever. I don't really like the hacksaw method. I'll show it to you because it's the most common tool. I found that there's also a plumbing cutting wrench. This guy right here. It opens up real wide enough to cut our aluminum bottle, and that's really fast. I can make a stove in about 10-15 minutes with one of these guys. I'll show you how it's done. The first step is scoring our bottle to know where we want to cut it. What I've used is just a piece of tape, or you can use a block to set up as a guide, and then I take my X-Acto knife and actually spin the bottle and make a mark on the side delineating where I want to cut. Now with the wrench it gets real easy real fast. You line it up, pop it on, and start spinning. And what do you know? It immediately begins to cut. Okay, so we got the bottom off. Now it's time to get the top off. Go about a thumb width and mark it right about there. Take the top off. It's not an exact science, but you get the idea. Boom. It's that easy. Okay, now we got the bottom off. We got the top off. Time to go for the middle section. This does have to be measured, this middle section here. So you can either put this inside and mark a line, or because I know that it's exactly the height that I cut this with, I'm going to use that same measure and mark with my razor on the side of the bottle. Alright, now I'm ready to rid my stove of the middle section and get this top section cut off. One important step that you can't forget is to make some notches in the top of the top section of the stove. When it flips upside down, those notches are going to be little fuel runners for the fuel to run into a cavity on the outside ring of the stove. Okay, I've got my can apart. Now it's time to modify the base to put the burner holes in it. At about a ½ inch from the top, you can make your burner holes. I've marked it with tape to make the measuring and actually the drilling of the holes easier. Now I'm ready to drill my holes, and I'm going to use a 1/16 of an inch bit to do it. The holes are drilled, the tape is off, and it's ready to put the two together. The assembly of the stove is a lot less craftsmanship as it is brute force. Now that we've banged our stove together, we need to provide it with a wick. This is going to be our wick. It's fiberglass rope. Now you can find it at a stove store or Home Depot. It's a fiberglass stove insulation rope, and it comes in a lot of different forms. I'm going to use this form. It wraps around the bottom of the stove, and that's what does the priming for the stove. I'll show you how. Okay, I got the rope up here. All that it's held together with is a little nail, or you could use a pin or whatever you want. And we're going to put some JB Weld down here, slide that down into the JB Weld, and that'll leave the holes up top free to actually make the flame, and down here the primer will be out of the way. Alright, we're ready to put together our stove, but the epoxy we're going to use is JB Weld. JB Weld is really good stuff. It's fireproof. Really important when putting together a stove. It's the red and the black. Don't get the Quick stuff. There's another product out there called Quick JB. It's the red and the black JB Weld. I'll show you how we're going to use it.
Okay, because JB Weld is a two-part epoxy, you squeeze the two tubes together and then mix them together, and then they work like glue, a slow-acting glue that you just spread onto wherever you want to stick on your stove, and they do the rest. Alright, we got our mixed epoxy ready to go. We're ready to make some stoves. I actually have a couple lined up here. Let's get started. The other section you need to epoxy on these guys is the tops. The lids are very important. Yeah, we banged them together real hard, but this is going to make sure that they don't ever come apart. Alright, these guys are all done. They're drying. We just have to wait for them. While we're waiting for them to dry, I'll show you one that I've made before. It's right over here. I'm going to fill it up with some denatured alcohol. And definitely have a windscreen. You need a windscreen. These guys will not work properly without it. So, let me show you how this thing works. Okay, we're going to fill our stove with a couple ounces of denatured alcohol. That should be good. And we're going to prime it by getting a little bit of alcohol on the wick. Be careful not to overspill like that. Otherwise, you can get flame ups. Ready to light our stove. So here it goes. Now we've lit the priming wick, and I'm going to turn off the lights to show you how it goes. The way a denatured alcohol stove works is by boiling the alcohol inside. You can see that it's starting to bloom out right now. Nice. Nice, and as soon as our wick, which is just about out, good. Now our wick is out. It's all ready to go. We put our pot right on top, and then we would put our windscreen right underneath that. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. For more details and tips, check out my website, russellweekendadventurer.com.